Hey everyone, Home Aquaponics here, just making another video. Maybe moving here very shortly. Actually I am, so I just try to make as many of these as I can of this one, because whatever is going to happen in the future is going to be a different one probably. So I'm really proud of this little setup. You know what this is again, Home Aquaponics. It's for someone who would, want a, Saturday afternoon cleaning stuff up, and then couple times a week at night, wanting to obviously cut some vegetables, and maybe there's a little tweaking, filling it up with water every couple days, but none of that takes more than, half an hour, really, even on a time when there's a serious project, I never spend more than 3 or 4 hours doing this. And so yeah, it's not a job, it's just something that's for people that want really healthy, fresh food. And I mean, I'm using no pesticides at all. So anyway, the thing about this video, besides just how it looks right now, is I want to talk about cleanliness in the garden. And that's like, maybe I would like to say it's maybe my most important video, because cleaning up is a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal for bugs. It's a big deal for even, dirt and stuff. Dust accumulates on the plants themselves. You're in a basement, as you can see. This is just, I mean, this looks nice, because when I moved in, this place was a cave. And that's still almost this constant creek because of when it rains and stuff. And so anyway, yeah, just as you can see, I don't leave much around. And I wanted to show you guys this too, is that here's this electric mess, okay, and it's unavoidable. I mean, there's no way you could plug in those wires, all together in one or whatever. It's just, this is actually the safest way too, because each main little section of stuff has a surge for it. But look at the wires, and that's just because there's extra extension cords I didn't need, and anyway, but even that, you can tell that I've got it pretty tied up, I mean, and the one thing I did before, and this is why I recommend cleaning, is because you'll find stuff you don't realize you even needed to do. And I noticed that I had this in a cooler down here, and it dawned on me that if anything were to happen up here water-wise, it would fill that cooler. So that would be, I mean, it'd probably pop a breaker, but I mean, basically, just not a good thing. It's obviously really bad. It could have, killed you potentially. So, but anyway, yeah, I've got, bubblers are on that tub. See that? I'm getting this stuff off the floor and as consolidated as possible. And yeah, I mean, I probably, if I knew I wasn't going to, be moving and stuff, I probably would have bought some higher end lighting even. But really, this works pretty good for what it is, because I don't think this whole thing, plus, other stuff, even, electric bill's about $80. But, so anyway, you got the electric, keep it very clean, very safe. And then, what you'll see too is I sweep the floor, I really do. I sweep the floor just like if you had a business or a shop. And generally then what I'll do is I'll take that pail of water, and then I'll just literally pour it around, this whole area all the way to the ends of those shelves and stuff, and it just kind of pushes everything down. And that is one thing I will say, is that if you want to do this, you don't have to have a drain, but that would make a huge difference. And if you don't have a drain, what I would recommend is using a pump for all your water, when you pull water out for water changes, but actually, send it out a window. That's actually the best. If you have to use like a tube, I use that tube just to empty it out, but I have it going into the drain. But anyway, once again, drain is very clean, and also these videos, I want to make this look presentable, but actually it's a big deal. Like, for instance, the reverse osmosis, I put that in our drinking water, my drinking water, but at the same time, it's down here and around a lot of stuff. So I'm constantly kind of washing off that hose and stuff. And then this too, this is the water that I use for the aquarium and the aquaponics. And so, that water I like to still try and keep as sterile as possible. And actually, even if I dump that once into the fish, I will go bleach it, because there's no way I'm going to let whatever that is end up getting into that. So I keep this place really clean. I mean, as you can see, I'm not even using that area, and I'm not keeping anything there junk-wise or anything. And I know this sounds, kind of like, oh, that's ridiculous, but actually it's like there's a book about Japanese tidying right now, and the girl's getting pretty famous, and it might be a little overboard for me, but I mean, to me, it's kind of that same thing where, believe it or not, the cleaner you make your garden area and environment, much less problems you're going to have, and you're just going to see stuff that you never saw before, and you just wouldn't believe how, the clutter just starts keeping your eye from really looking at what's important, and also basics. You'll notice you'll keep a lot of just extra junk you have never used, and just stuff that, get rid of it. What you want is open space. I mean, isn't that what it's like in a garden outside, is that there's open space? So, I personally know this for a fact, that plants are, they're claustrophobic. And so they will actually not grow as well if they feel they are in a claustrophobic place. Now, keep in mind, these plants are all very close together themselves, and I recently cut the pellet bottoms, or cut the beer mug pellet bottoms or whatever. I just kind of thrashed them up a bit, because I realized the roots weren't getting through them as much. I hadn't cut many holes and stuff, but back to just cleanliness. I even did thin them out a bit too, but these plants, they need space, and so that's what I'm trying to give, even in this little room, which is just really as much space as possible. And don't be afraid to throw stuff away. I mean, make it, be proud you threw away a trash can or something of stuff, because really, it's not healthy to live, how people, we hoard stuff. And in the garden environment, don't make it a room full of boxes. And for one, the fire hazard of it too. I mean, if you had a room full of crap and kindling from 100 years ago or something, that stuff is not what you want around. And I've seen a lot of basements that, just people haven't really gone down there in 20 years. They haven't really worried about it. And so, but no, this is different. Just you want, the cleaner you keep the garden, suddenly you're going to see what you really want as a garden, and you're going to start seeing the results of that, because it's just interesting. I can't say it enough that it's like feng shui, basically. Just keep the room as clean as you can. Clean out the little pots. And I know it sounds daunting, but in the long run, when you see how easy it really is, it's going to be much better than if you let any of that accumulate. So yeah, I don't want to take this too much farther, but it is going good. And then since I cut the bottoms of these, the roots are going to have a much easier time. And so that's basically, the roots were squeezing through and then growing an abundant amount of root on the exterior of the cup. But then that little hole that I cut was like slicing them, or only allowing like a main taproot to really go through. And so this is going to make a world of difference. So I guarantee you, in a next week or two, you're going to see this doing way better, because it already is, really. And it's going great. So, but yeah, basically, by cleaning, you're becoming aware of what needs to be done, because you're in the environment, and you're just cleaning it up, and you're like, oh God, I need to take out that filter, or, stuff like that. And honestly, I only clean those filters like once a month, so I might be shy. I had a snail problem. Tried to even use the dog medicine on it, and not a good deal at all. Cleaned the water out, hurt my fish. But once again, you see that filter when it needs it, because you're in there cleaning out rotten leaves that have fallen down in it. So I'm just telling you that it's like, I know like hippies love to do this stuff, and I myself am a pretty liberal person, but cleanliness is the name of the game. In fact, it's get on the boat or get off it, to be honest. I mean, you talk to anyone about indoor gardening, you need the most sterile, clean environment you can possibly get. So it's not exactly something to just throw inside a basement, but here it has been, thrown on the side. And then notice the extension cords are off the floor. Now, you might think this is simple, and like, it is. It's one of my videos that doesn't really tell you a lot about gardening, but what I'm telling you is to keep it clean. I mean, just, oh, and then real quick, this is some I did a couple lettuce videos, and I just realized how close I put them together, and I felt really bad about it. So this is exactly the opposite experiment, which is how will they do if there really is just one in each cup. And I know how they're doing, because they're looking nice and perky for being young lettuce. So yeah, that's exactly what you want them to look like. So, but also keeping it clean. I mean, I just hit this hydrogen peroxide, rinse it out, which don't do with your fish. This one doesn't have fish in it, but I just I'm doing that stuff. And I would say, to be successful, make cleaning half of what you do. Or maybe a third of what you do. Literally, what you do in the garden. Check a check mark for what time you start, and realize that you got to do about a third of that, which is cleaning. And yes, once it's pristine, you can lay back and just not let the mess happen. Really, that's just clean up as you go. I have this is something obviously everyone is going to have, which is just a dead leaf box. Okay, that's all the crap that I'm trimming off there. And I'm telling you that the guy who lets all that just build up all over the system, I mean, it just really detracts from it. So anyway, I don't want to take this too far. I mean, I'm explaining the obvious, but am I explaining it well enough? And that really is, I mean, just even in the smallest environment, and the cleaner it is, it just shows you more of what it really is. And you can actually say to yourself, is this really going to be worth my while, versus just looking at a room full of trash and, and all of a sudden it's trash, I mean, it's amazing how it works together. So, yeah, so just one last step back here and let you see it. So the importance of keeping a home aquaponics system clean.